Hello, people. I'd like to tell you that I got some exciting news for you. What you're about to witness is for the first time ever, you're going to have on YouTube, you're going to have Joi Kaiser Faraci, that's Alan Kaiser's sister, and her husband, uh, and Thomas Faraci. And here's what most people don't realize: Thomas Faraci is the one that identified the body the night that Alan was killed. He talks to us in this interview about seeing the body, identifying the body, where Alan was shot, and gives us details that Sammy doesn't even know about because Sammy didn't see the body after he shot the body. Sammy ran. So this is basically they came forward because we were talking on the phone, and all of a sudden it turned into a phone interview, and it was a wonderful conversation, a sad conversation, but you learned a lot about Joy and Thomas Faraci. They both have been through a lot. This has been for 40 years. And then on top of that, you have Sammy Gravano that came out a couple years ago and said that Alan was drunk or on drugs and attacked him by the car. Autopsy reports prove otherwise. But we're going to talk about all that stuff. You make the decision. And you let people like Megan Kelly and Michael Francis, uh, let them understand this assassination of this young boy, this 16-year-old boy, who 5 weeks earlier was 15. It's not like he was 16 going on 17. This is a kid that just turned 16 years old. And that's another thing that you do not hear much of. So enjoy this phone conversation. It's coming up right now. And I just like to thank everybody. Uh, Remember, this wasn't meant to be a phone interview in the beginning. It turned into one. So at times it's a little rough patches, but in general, it comes out pretty good. And we go over what happened. You guys tell us what you think when it's done. Everybody take care. Bless you. Thank you very much.
Some cookies, but him and my other friend woke me up and said, Alan's been shot, he's dead. And I went over there and identified his body. And I saw the car was still running. They had a white Grand Prix.
The Catano's car, right?
The Aldo's car.
Aldo.
Whatever his name was. Right?
So his car was still running. So Aldo took off from the scene. Did they ever find Aldo to bring him back and question him?
Yeah, what did we hear?
What I heard was he went into a psychiatric ward, so I guess he was in hiding.
He got scared and took off. He left town and lost his mind a little bit. He was out of the state for years.
I don't know what happened to him.
We don't know if he's alive today or not, but
he died in 2012 from what we could say, and then unfortunately the Daily News, I think they messed up the story a little bit because of the addresses. You know,
that happens a lot with newspapers. It's happened to us with our brother. Someone was saying he was 15, he's 16, and you get addresses and dates wrong. It happens.
Oh yeah. It does, and that was during the. And, when I did the research, what was crazy was that just a weekend before, you had that murder, the Son of Sam murder there.
That was another one about
Graham. She got blinded. Grew up around the block from me. I grew up on 7th Street, and between 19th and 20th Avenue. And Grant was from 75th between 19th and 20th. We went to school together, yeah.
Okay, and so what I want to ask you is, so you identified the body, you came up on the scene. Was Alan's body still in the road on the scene?
Yes.
And where was he shot? What part of his body was he shot? Do you remember?
Well, I'll tell you this. He was laying in the middle of the street, more towards the other side, facing the other sidewalk. And he was face down. And you couldn't really tell. It was dark. By this time it was like 1 o'clock in the morning. And it was on a dark street. And I couldn't see. I just saw a part of the blood, and I saw him, and It was him because I know him for he was.
He had a suit on. He had a spec clothes that he were new, right?
No, he was wearing dungarees that I had given him.
Oh,
Back in the day, I had these dungarees that were made up of patches. It was dungaree patches all sewn together, and he loved them. And for some reason, I don't know if I had got new pants or whatever, and I gave them to him because I knew he liked them. And I saw him laying it. I saw my pants, and I saw the side of his face and his head.
And so Sammy says that that the driver yelled at Milito, "Watch out," because he was running at him. Alan was running at him, and he got within a couple feet. Then Milito shot him in the chest. That's what basically he said. And then when he fell on the ground, Milito shot him in the face. Does that match up to any of the autopsy reports or anything?
And he could have shot him in the chest, but if he shot him in the ground, which they said he did, the autopsy, he was face down. He didn't shoot him in the face. He shot him in the back of the head.
That's what I always thought, that he would do the execution stuff.
The casket was open.
Oh, that's.
He wasn't shot in the face.
He was shot in the back of the head.
Wow. And did they find any drugs? And did they look or find any drugs in Alan's body?
No, nothing.
Did Alan at that time, was he a typical 16? Alan was my age, let's say, and so he was. Did he?
About 5 weeks before he was killed. So I mean, he's not part of a gang, and he's definitely not part of a mob. I mean, what they said was they asked him some directions, which way to King's Highway.
Right.
To move him over to the car. And then when they saw Aldo come out of the house, they turned their attention to him and asked him the same question. Now, my brother was standing, he's walked over to the car to answer that question. They got out and started shooting. He must have panicked. He probably shit his pants.
Of course.
I've had a gun pointed at me once. I almost shit in my pants. It's scary. You freeze. You don't run at someone, especially if they just shot a shotgun and they pointed at you. I mean, it's little kiddies. He had no clue that he was going to get killed.
No.
And then this guy, he goes on these shows and says, I don't know who the kid was. He might have been on drugs. He was in a gang. He committed suicide.
Yeah.
All he had to do was say, the kid got killed. He was in the wrong place at the wrong time. It was a tragedy. Forget about it. He doesn't have it. And I would have, what did he do in this interview with you? I was like, you know what? But he's talking bad about the kid's dead. He's not here to defend himself.
No. And what I'd like to ask you too is, now when this happened, he claimed that your brother Joi was in with Aldo and came out of the house with Aldo.
About that.
Right.
I have no clue. I don't know. I think they did it because he was a witness to what they were shooting at Aldo. Aldo was running and wounded, and I think that it was like collateral damage to them. They didn't want Alan to maybe tell the cops or something. Exactly. Horrible.
They lured him over and were asked him, because they said that was what they did. They called him over to say, how do you get to King's Highway? And so now he sees their face, right? The guy comes out of the house across the street. They turn their attention to him. He goes running, and they shoot. Alan is frozen, probably. He's a baby. Sure. He's frozen. These guys are hopped up on rage. We're going to kill somebody, and we're going to make our bones. And after they shot, they didn't know whether they killed this guy. They shot at him, they turned around, and they killed the next thing in him.
And I'm going to, Joi, Did Karen, first let's start with Karen. Did Karen Gravano ever reach out to you and talk to you about this?
No.
Okay.
I never spoke to not one of them. I would never.
Joy, did Karen, first let's start with Karen. Did Karen Gravano ever reach out to you and talk to you about this?
No.
Okay.
I never spoke to not one of them. I would never.
Shit. He never spoke to any one of us.
So Gerard never spoke to you either?
No.
And Sammy Gravano? And Sammy
daughter or his son never spoke to either one of us.
No.
So he said on Megyn Kelly that that's the scenario he laid out. So he basically lied to Megyn Kelly.
Yes.
So
Okay.
that's why we're here and we're talking to you now, because we're just, listen, there's one other thing I just wanted to say. If you look at any TV show or you know anybody who's had somebody murdered, the one thing everybody needs is they want justice. That's all they say. I want justice. Right. We didn't know for 15, 20 years who killed Alan Kaiser. We find out the FBI comes and says, the guy killed your son. He's a government witness. There's nothing you can do about it. And that was it. I mean, I grew up, we lived in Bensonhurst our whole lives. And I never heard of Sammy before, you know? And, you know, this guy is still walking around free. He's still doing interviews. He's still fucking lying about Alan.
And he's still haunting my life.
We never got closure. He's throwing salt in an open window for 45 fucking years. It doesn't end. Shut the fuck up and go away. Well, you gotta keep bringing this shit and lying about it. Just say you got killed. Let's get it. And that would have been it. But he just keeps shooting his mouth off. He keeps lying, making up, changing his stories.
Okay, and so when Megyn Kelly did this interview, it seemed like someone reached out to Megyn Kelly and told her about Alan Kaiser. Was that you or somebody you know that reached out to her? Did you even know the interview was happening?
No. Never spoke to her. Knew nothing about the interview. Nothing.
So it would have been nice if she spoke to someone in your family that was actually close to it.
That's what I was saying to you earlier when I said she asked him about the scenario, what happened. He gives his version, and then she just, okay, that's it. She didn't give us. Why didn't you interview Joy and say, what happened with your brother? What's your story? Tell us about your brother. He was just a 16-year-old kid. What was he? What kind of fucking threat was he to them? He never carried a gun in his life. He never had anything to do with anything like that. He just happened to be there. They were in a murderous rage. They wanted to kill somebody that night. And because he was there, they shot him. He didn't run fast enough.
That's exactly what it was. He did not run fast enough.
Do you know if he was with Aldo, you know, he was wounded, was he shot as well with the shotgun or was it with the pistol?
He got shot with a shot. I don't know where.
I think it was in the shoulder. I believe it was in the shoulder. If I'm not, you know.
Made it sound like he says he was laying in the back seat. He didn't even talk about getting up and shooting anybody. He made it like Merlino got out, did everything. He was laying in the back seat, I guess taking a nap.
Yeah. On a pillow.
So they're going out looking to murder somebody, but Sammy's laying in the back seat.
Yeah, he's laying in the back seat.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
So he lied to saying it was birdshot because I think he was saying that they got the shotgun from
they thought it was birdshot, I thought they said, didn't they?
Yeah.
Right.
He's a lying sack of shit.
They didn't say on the autopsy whether he was shot with birdshot or a slug. They just said shotgun blast to the back of the brain, the back of the skull.
Oh, I got to tell you guys this. Any call that comes on my phone right here automatically records. Do you want me to destroy the recording, or do you want me to play the this interview?
Whatever you want.
I want to play the interview because I think that this is what people need to hear.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, as long as I have your permission.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's great.
We have nothing to hide, and we have nothing to lie about. It's been 45 years, it doesn't go away. This guy, wish he would die already and get buried, and then we don't have to hear his voice, because it's really upsetting. I mean, it's a murder that he keeps getting murdered over and over. Every time we see it or hear it, it doesn't get put to rest.
And that's the question I want to ask you. What do you think when people say, "Oh, come on, stop talking about it. It happened 45 years ago. It's just getting tiresome." What would you like to say to those people?
If it was one of your family members, would you get over it?
And how?
You gotta see this guy every day.
Yes. And how close?
I don't know.
How close were you to your brother, Joy?
Very close.
Yeah.
Very close.
And how close were you? Was your husband to him?
Very close. I mean, my husband and I, we met when we were 15 years old. I won't tell you my age now.
You're 46. Angel told me. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
36. Exactly 36.
And so I want to. And so
I was very close to him.
We've been together since we're 15. We've been together every day.
Wow.
I knew Alan very well. Like I said, I gave him my clothes to wear.
Did Alan have a girlfriend at that time?
Yes.
And she was.
Yes, he had a girlfriend.
Was he?
She lived near Kings Highway there, in the West South Street. He was near her for a while. We only met times here and there, but the thing is, he was just a kid, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He was just a little kid. This was the biggest shock of my life. When they said he was shot dead in the street, I was like, what happened? What? Who? And we didn't know for all these years.
What did your family and your mother and father, bless them, I know they're not around no more. What did you guys think happened to him? Who did you think shot him when you were thinking about it that night?
Oh, we had no idea. No idea.
We couldn't figure it out. We just
Did you think anything related to Son of Sam or not?
No, nothing of some sense. What happened was a couple of days later, here and there, you heard something here. There was a mob breakout that went wrong. And I was like, mob breakout? What does Alan have to do with the mob? I didn't even know there was another kid involved in the shooting. I mean, when something traumatic like that happens to you, you get all your facts can get confused in the first few days. You know what I'm saying?
And what did you think when they actually, at that time, people knew who Sammy Gravano was. What did you think when they said, "Oh, Sammy Gravano said that he was involved in it"?
I didn't know. Listen, for the first 15 or 20 years, we didn't know anything. No one knew who killed him. When the FBI came and said it was this guy Sammy, I never heard of him. But right after that, I started to hear him. Guess what? My family knows his family.
Right.
His sister and his brother-in-law, Eddie Galfaro, who was a big guy, they were at my parents' 50th anniversary. My parents used to go on cruises with them. They grew up together on their head. So we found out, and now my parents' 50th wedding anniversary, we had a big party. My wife and I sitting, and the table flew over Sammy's sister with her husband. And what was she going to do on my parents' anniversary? Go over and say, "Why did your brother kill my brother?" We both knew at the time, but she couldn't say that.
I was told not to say nothing anyway. I couldn't say nothing.
So we knew, and I didn't know that. I heard hear about it after Castellano got killed. We started hearing, and then when he gets arrested, I mean, I never heard of Sammy before. I never heard of him growing up. He was never a guy in the neighborhood that I heard, a big guy. I grew up, Carlo Gambino lived, Joe Colombo lived on we grew up on 19th and 74th. Carmine Percival lived on 85th Street and 12th Avenue. These guys were all that lived in the neighborhood. They were on every block. There was a gangster or social club all over. Sandy's club was on 77th Street and 17th Avenue. So I saw a lot of activity around there after they killed Gotti.
Are you talking about Tallies or Docks? Tallies, right?
Tallies was on 18th Avenue and 67th Street. Sammy had his own little social club on 77th and 17th.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Okay? So, those social clubs were on every block growing up. They were on every corner. When we grew up, the mob was like the Godfather. They were out in the open. They were just like you saw in the movies. These guys sitting on chairs with the new cars in the street. They were more powerful than the police. If you had a problem, you had to deal with these guys who come and see you. And then, after 7 years later, it turned into the Goodfellas. These guys were killing each other, ratting on each other. It was the Wild West until it's over. Now you don't need nobody.
Okay, I'm sorry, James. Why don't you ask?
Yeah, so just a couple of questions on that. Did you know Louie Milito or Otto Arello?
I heard of Tato Milito. I heard of Tato. We've heard of a lot of names. There was a lot of gangsters in the neighborhood.
Yeah, but you didn't really know them personally then. And then as far as any of the witness accounts of what happened that night, did they say that there were two guys involved, three? Did they say there were three guys in the car or two? Do you know?
They said nothing to us about what happened. All they said was Alan was shot and killed.
Yeah.
They never mentioned the mob.
Yeah.
They never mentioned how many guys. They never mentioned the car. They never mentioned anything. And when you hear your little brother is shot dead in the street, you're going to really think about who was there a witness? How many people? We're in shock. It's a horror. Oh my God. A little kid, shotgun dead in the street. I go there, he's in my pants.
Oh my
I gotta go home now and tell my girlfriend. We knew each other 4 or 5 years at the time. Your little brother's dead. Just screaming. To carry it on. That you have to go. And then the funeral, Joi is Jewish. They bury you right away. The grandmother died the next day.
Oh, yeah.
Same funeral.
Oh my God.
The very next day after we buried Alan, they had a right back. Go through the whole thing at the end. We were like zombies.
Let me ask you a question, Joi. This is going to be a tough question, but describe to me how your mother and father handled this and how it affected them the rest of their life.
My mother was devastated till the day she died. It's going to be 3 years in August. She, lose your son. My mom and my dad were divorced. So, my father came, he gave him his plot because he got a plot because he was in the Korean War. Yeah. So he gave him his plot because who's gonna, they could buy a burial plot for a young kid, yeah.
Okay.
So that was the first time I went to see his grave was when I went to Angel's Shower. I couldn't bring myself to go see it.
Guys, it's this open wound that I was talking about. It's when you think about it, when the time comes up or you hear or see it, and it's the same thing. He's out free. He killed 19 people. How in the world could the government? If we knew what we were doing, we should go and try to make a Congress or somebody change the law that the government can't give somebody 5 years, 4 years for killing 19 people.
I know, and
become a witness.
well, they did it with Greg Scarpa and others too, where they allow these. That's why this program that they have is so corrupt, because the victims of the families, they don't get any closure, and they say, oh, well, he's a top echelon, whatever.
They knew what they were doing. They were involved with the mob. Listen, I had nothing to do with that.
Well, that's the one person that has nothing to
They
do.
did. The thing is, there was 2 human beings that got killed.
Exactly.
You're going to repass. When a prostitute gets killed, they still go after the killer and put him in jail.
Well, that, all of the roles of that life, I know they talk about, is one life worth more than another, but the difference is that Alan was a 16-year-old kid that had nothing to do with any of that. He was not part of that life, and people need to understand that instead of diminishing our, and I understand it's been 45 years, but there's no closure. That's why we talk about it today, because we don't have closure. We have someone that can't even show regret, any sort of human compassion for what he did.
No, he's disgusting, and you hear about him every day, and his face every day. That I can't explain it.
And let me ask you an important question. What do you think? I want you to give this. What I'm going to ask you. I want this answer to go to Michael Francis. What would you tell Michael Francis about saying that he believes in his heart that Sammy wants forgiveness and that Sammy Gravano is his friend? What would you like to tell Michael Francis when he says that?
Sammy's what?
His friend.
Wants forgiveness in his heart, and he wants to be friends or whatever. Listen, Michael Francis is living in fantasy land.
Right.
I don't really know so much about that. I come on, I get off. I pretty much.
Do you think Sammy's remorseful?
No.
For what he's done?
No, he doesn't care.
And what I'm
It's all about money for him.
And what I'm trying to say is, Michael Francis came out the other day and said that Sammy's his friend, and that he believes that Sammy wants forgiveness in his heart. And Michael Francis is a man of God, he claims, and that kind of shocked Angel Gotti. So we did a show on it because he's willing to forgive a 16-year-old boy being murdered by Sammy Gravano.
Oh, really? I didn't see. I don't watch it that much. I'll pop on and off, but.
Well, wait a minute. Hold on. You don't have to ask him. I know he'd have a different opinion, Michael Francis, if it was his son who was murdered. And his killer got off, didn't have to serve any time. When you kill somebody and you get caught, you should go to jail until the person you killed gets out of that coffin and gets out, then you get out of jail. Whether it's one person or 100 people.
But 100%. So listen, I'm going to go over the list of this to wind this down a little bit. I'm going to ask you from the beginning, and just give me real quick answers on this if you don't mind.
Oh, listen, my brother was a Boy Scout.
Yes.
He won awards. He was an artist who had his art hanging in the Brooklyn Museum of Art. Yeah, he was a 16-year-old boy,
Right.
I'm sure he had his little dealings with
Yeah, he's a 16-year-old boy. You hit it perfect. He's a 16-year-old boy in Brooklyn.
But he was just a regular kid, but he had a lot of talent, and that was all taken away from him.
He wasn't a bad kid. There's kids that who was in trouble or was in trouble.
Yeah.
That was Saturday.
Yeah, you know what?
What he got.
And you know what bothers me is I've heard other people. I don't know how this came up, but I know we're trying to wrap it up. But Jimmy Calander had mentioned he talked about this thing, and he actually said it was Sammy that
Did the shooting.
did the shooting, and I appreciated that he was honest about that. But I didn't appreciate when he said, "Well, I know when I was 16 years old, and a 16-year-old kid is dangerous. And yes, some are, but you have Alan was he didn't have a weapon. He wasn't involved in anything like that.
No, nothing like that. And I mean, nothing like that.
Jimmy Calander is not the sharpest tool in the shed. A lot of these guys, the other thing I wanted to say was, at least Lee, I stood here with my wife. She asked me to be here with you to do this. And part of it was because at least you had the balls to go out there. And when you saw the guy, you confronted him and asked him. And you stood there. You didn't run away.
Not an ounce. I didn't have an ounce of fear. I'll be totally honest with you. But maybe that was dumb on my part. So, but I like
at least you did it.
Yeah.
I don't know how many guys would have stood up there and asked him that question.
Yeah.
And had the balls to do that. A lot of people talk big behind a microphone on a computer, but when the chips are down, they run away.
And that's the thing is that people that claim to be against rats, they all attacked me for doing it. They said, "How dare you show up at Sammy's," and stuff like that, like they were defending Sammy.
Well, I get attacked too when I write something down.
People still around her and telling you don't know the truth. You don't know what really happened. They're telling this to Joi. Imagine till this day, some people will still say that. But I tell her just ignore me.
And I do.
They don't know. They don't know the hurt that you've been through for this. The guy, all he had to say was the kick and kill. It was a shame. That's all I got to say. Not he committed suicide and he was a drug addict. He was in a gang. Anything to make himself feel better. I don't know.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is ask these questions real quick. And Joi, either one of you is going to answer. One, did Karen Gravano ever try to get a hold of you, Joi?
Yeah, I would never even talk to her.
Okay. Did Gerard Gravano ever get a hold of you?
Never.
Did Sammy Gravano ever talk to you ever about that?
No.
Okay. So, that I just wanted to get those three out of the way. And so when he was shot, was there any evidence that he had any drugs in his body?
No.
Okay. Well, there was an autopsy done on him. Is that correct?
Yes, there was an autopsy. We have the report.
Okay. So, and the report basically says that he was. The way Sammy described the shooting was he was shot in the chest and then he was shot.
No.
He was never shot in the chest.
I said it was possible they shot him there first, but the autopsy states he died from shotgun blast to the back of the head in the brain.
Not the front of the head, the back.
No, the back.
So he had to be laying down if he was shot first or running, and he had to be shot in the back of the head. It was from behind, not in the front.
Right. We had an open casket.
You had an open casket, okay.
We gave Angel a copy of the autopsy, and then she put it on the computer.
She did.
Yeah, I have that too.
Brian, that's what we got from the state. It took us a lot of digging and it was a pain in the ass to get that because they're like, the records are gone. I
was trying to think, but when I said my mother passed away, she was in Florida. I'm on Staten Island. Does everybody hear that now? I'm on Staten Island, and we had to drive down there, and half of her stuff I couldn't find it because she had a
copy of the.
And I couldn't find anything.
The thing is, we had to send away to get it.
Right.
And that was a lot of work. It was a lot of aggravation.
Especially with that amount of time going by.
Yes. I was saying, the records don't exist. the records are gone, we moved, and this is, it's just tough, but we got it.
And let me ask you guys another question. When you see that Sammy got away with this murder, basically, and other murders, and John Gotti goes to prison for those murders that he testified against John Gotti. So John Gotti paid the price for whatever he did in his life. And then on top of that, Sammy's given another chance in life, and he comes out and he gets his children into becoming drug dealers, his wife. He threatens to kill Gerard's girlfriend, who is now his wife. He put a gun to his son's head. He was planning on trying to kill Richard Kuby, a lawyer, Ron Kuby.
Ron Kuby, yeah.
Yes, and he was also planning on extending his drug network all over the country with bikers. When you hear that, what do you think that he was let out and he was able to do this, and he's out again?
Well, the FBI is proud of him. All those guys became judges and shit. And were part of getting this guy his sweetheart deal.
And it's to me, it's a sad world to have a criminal like that allowed to have his own podcast, make money off of his crimes. And for the people that suffered, especially me, my brother was not part of a gang or in the mafia or anything like that. And to have to see this constantly, it's either on TV, World's Scariest People, podcast, wherever he can go, Megyn Kelly, wherever they want him. And he's a liar. I'm baffled.
And what happened lied? He told Donna that he sold ecstasy, wasn't a drugs. It wasn't drugs.
Yeah, he said that. I heard that.
Yeah, it's delusional.
And what would you like to say to Fox News, who uses him as a contributor now?
What are we going to say to that?
They should all drop dead. That's all I can say. They should all drop dead. Because if it was one of their family or their children, I don't think they'd be glorifying this piece of crap.
Right.
I know that, Lee, I think you sent an email to the guy, Jesse.
Yes, I did. Jesse Waters.
Yeah, I wrote to him.
And I like Jesse Waters. I was very disappointed.
No.
Very disappointed.
No response.
They wanted to
That's what happened to Dave.
Yeah, you could be their supporters and have respect for them, but then you see that they blow this off because they rather deal with a guy who's a mass murderer than to deal.
Just go get more viewing.
Like people will do strange things when it comes to money. They'll sell their soul to get to make money or something. They don't care about the people when these people hurt. Don't just put them on TV if it gets them views and they get a show out of it or something and they can make money. That's what they do. Not like you guys. This is what you do. It's you get to the truth. You're not all about how can I make money off of everything I do. And people on TV, that's all they think about.
Right.
And Joi, I'd like to ask you another question. How important was this that Angel Gotti has been able to help you keep this alive?
I love her for this. I love her for what she has done. She's helped me out a lot. And as Gravano said, how did he put it?
She fixed that because of the guys.
Yeah.
Yes.
They go, how could that? I mean, you killed her brother. You killed her brother.
I have a lot of respect for her, and I respect everything she's doing, and I don't blame her. If I had to bring her, I'd be doing the same thing, but I swear to God, I'm so out there sometimes because I got a lot on my mind, and watching this every day, it just it eats me away.
And if I was Megyn Kelly, when he said the Gottis were behind it, what I would have said is, well, if they were behind it, how come John Gotti didn't bring it up during the trial?
That's fine. I'm glad you brought that up, Lee. The other thing I wanted to touch on was the Daily News had a thing on the front page of one of their papers when the guy was going to trial, and it said Sammy killed 19 people, and it had everybody's name, all mobsters. And then when they got to number 19, they said unidentified male.
Yeah.
And
Unidentified.
they kept that from the judge and the jury. Well, I don't know about the judge, but they kept it from the jury. And if Gotti's lawyers knew that he killed an innocent kid, they may not have been able to use Sammy as a witness. So they covered up for him. They knew who was, what his name was. He wasn't unidentified. They made it sound like it was somebody they found somewhere.
There were two people that he was not allowed, that they weren't allowed to talk about. It was Alan, and it was also the Shabata, whatever the brother-in-law.
So the two things that could have sunk Sammy as a witness, they didn't allow to come forward.
They didn't allow it.
On the front of the Daily News, and we were like, what is this? They know Alan. We didn't even put it together at the time. You know, we did. I didn't know the guys. I didn't know we didn't know what was going on. We just seen like this is the guy who killed Alan, and he's testifying. And what is this shit? Unidentified male. Why would they do that? Now I know why. They couldn't allow his lawyers to know. God, if I would have known, I would have ran to Gotti's lawyers and told him.
Yeah.
There's a lot that we could have done, but you're young at the time, you don't realize it. By the time you realize it, it's too late. It's too late.
When this happens, you get overwhelmed and shocked with sorrow.
And Joi, here's how I'm going to finish this interview off. I noticed that you on your Facebook page and stuff, you got some beautiful grandchildren, family. How often do you say to yourself, how about my brother?
A lot. That's why my youngest grandson, his name is Alan.
And do they?
We say a prayer at every meal that we have together as a family on every holiday. It's the first thing we always talk about. Our family members who are with us today. And, we go through the list. And Alan's always first on top. It gets longer each year. We lost my parents. She lost her parents. But Alan's always been on the top. He didn't just go. He didn't get sick and pass away and live his life. He was taken from us twice on murderous, unforgiven creep.
Yep.
And that's what it is.
Well, I'm gonna...
You want to know? Here's something funny. My daughter, my second oldest daughter, Samantha, her name's Samantha, but I call her Sammy. I didn't even know when I named her, otherwise I would have never named her Samantha, that was the guy that killed my brother.
Isn't that amazing? You know something, Joi? You both have given us stuff that has never been talked about before. And what we're going to do is, I'm going to turn the recorder off. 1 second.
Okay, people, that's the interview. It's a very sad interview when you really think about it. And I hope that you understand, and people that come forward and say, well, that was 45 years ago. That was Alan Kaiser 45 years ago. Sammy has no forgiveness. He's literally said that this kid was, it was his fault. He lied and said he attacked him. He was a drug addict, whatever. That's Sammy Gravano. People, I just wanted you to see that. Please subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button if you like this. And everybody take care. God bless you all. And this video is dedicated to Alan Kaiser and the short 16 years of his life. Thank you.